Slania Corvids. I'm Corvus Bruxo, and today I want to do a review for the film A Monster Calls by Bayona in this magical spot or point that I found on my way to the local cliff, and is this stone giant. I found this place to be quite acceptable to record because the wind isn't extremely strong here, so I hope that you can hear me mostly well. And you know, I was picking up trash because our species is trash and leaves trash, to leave this a little bit cleaner, at least of those things that doesn't recycle naturally. And I found this spot, and I did something I never thought that I would did, and is climbing up on rocks. It's not like extreme climbing. I don't need rope or anything like that. But you know, there are some rocks that are falling on you, and that means that they move and you shouldn't step on them. So I overcame my fears again and climbed a little bit to this point, and I'm sat down here on a rock. So this is an appropriate place to film this. Why? The premise of the film is that Conor O'Malley is a boy, I think in England, yeah, and whose mother is sick. She has cancer, and he's bullied at school, and his life sucks. So he comes to deal with all of this, imagining a monster coming out from or by a yew tree that is in a church and cemetery nearby. And this monster comes to tell him three stories in exchange of one story. The story that Conor O'Malley has to tell is his nightmare, the nightmare he's afraid of telling out loud, and his truth. I would like to analyze this film from an esoteric or occult point of view, because I think it's very juicy in that sense, besides being a very good fantasy and drama movie, which is strange for a Spanish movie. Because yes, it's Spanish, the book isn't Spanish, but the film is Spanish. The director is Spanish, and the producing companies are Spanish as well. What do I find so juicy about this? It's a personal interpretation. I'm sure the director didn't intend this to happen, but it's the interpretation I would give if it was a legend. So first things that I must say is that I think the monster is real. I don't think it's a physical monster. I think it's a spirit. Specifically, I think it's a lesser god, a spirit of place, genus Loki, daimon, familiar spirits, whatever you want to call it. The reason for this is that, of course, part of the contact is in Conor O'Malley's imagination, since he imagines like huge destruction of the place, and when he comes back to himself, the destruction didn't happen. So it's not real in that sense, but I think the contact is real. Why? Because it happens in liminal moments and liminal places. Of course, the place where the Jew is, and always past midnight, 7 minutes past midnight, and that's a liminal moment, and always a moment of great grief. So it's an altered state of mind. The stories are depicted as Conor O'Malley's imagination. So I think it's the equivalent to being on a deprivation chamber or sweat lodge. Always when he has to imagine, he imagines like watercolors coming to life, and it's like animated watercolors depicting the stories, and he's hearing it and listening to it, but he's always deprived of his sight. Either because the monster grabs him with his huge hand, or because he blocks all the windows and doors, like making a hermetic chamber. So he's deprived of his sight. We can imagine that he should sweat and be slightly numb, by the situation, and when he in the first story, which is the hardest to imagine for Connor, he grabs Connor and we can imagine that he's slightly deprived of oxygen, so in a state of hypoxia, you can imagine that you can have an altered state of mind. Also, the rules of the monster and his behavior and why he does things is like quite erratic and makes no sense, and that's kind of an usual thing from fairy folk tales and legends. So in the end it has a meaning, or at least it has an impact on the hero's outcome, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not always explained why it should make sense, just the outcome of it. Connor seems to be able to channel the monster. Like, there are scenes where Connor is making a movement or an action and the monster is mimicking it, so we can say it's kind of a channel into some kind. And apparently it's hereditary, like some hereditary familiar spirits that we know from the trials, because the mother slightly starts to tell the legend that that yew tree has been there for generations, protecting their family, even though she never tells that it is a monster or which aspects the monster is. That she refers to the tree, only the tree. Also, you have the confirmation. In the end, she gets to enter, thanks to her renewed relationship with his grandmother. She enters his mother's bedroom when she was a child, and she finds pictures of all of the stories that the monster told to him, and the form of the monster in the same exact form that he imagined him. So we have the confirmation that the monster interacted with the mother as well, believing that it was only dreams or imagination. So you have the confirmation. So to me, it's the spirit or the genus, the genie of the place, of that very place and that very yew tree. And to me, we can scratch and get many interesting lessons on how to interact and under which conditions we interact with these types of spirits. So if you like drama and fantasy, it's a very good film if you haven't watched it, and if not, try to look at it through my lenses. Watching this video, tell me what you think in the comments down below. Like if you like the video, dislike if not. If you want to watch more esoteric reviews of films and TV series and books, please subscribe to keep updated. Again, any feedback is welcome and thanked. So tell me whatever you want. If you agree or disagree, as far as you say it respectfully, it will be welcomed. Whatever happens to my tongue today. And yeah, basically that. See you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. May the gods and spirits watch over you all, and Slania.